All right, let's dive into something fascinating. We're going to look at this historical community that honestly seems like it should have been impossible. It just completely goes against human nature as we know it. And yet, their way of life was so countercultural that it led to this just astonishing growth. So, how did they pull it off? I mean, seriously, just think about that for a second. What if a community, not a company with a marketing budget, not some viral app, but a real group of people, was so compelling that it grew every single day? Not just, a few new people a month, daily. What would that even look like? It sounds kind of impossible, right? And yet, that's exactly what was recorded about the early Christian church. This wasn't just some lucky streak or a weird statistic. It was a direct result of how they lived. This totally radical, unique lifestyle. So you have to ask, what was their secret? What on earth were they doing that was so different from everyone else? Okay, so to really get it, we need to understand just how, well, strange this community looked to everybody else. It wasn't just a little different, it was basically the upside-down version of the entire social structure of their day. So look at this comparison. It's a total clash of values, right? The world around them, and you could argue our world too, ran on self-interest. You look out for number one, it's all about power and climbing the ladder. But this community, it was like they were running on a completely different operating system. It was all about shared needs, equality, service, even honoring the weak. I mean, how does a system like that even survive, let alone thrive in the real world? Well, let me show you. Let's move from theory to a powerful, real-world story that is just, it's almost hard to believe. This isn't a parable or a thought experiment. This is a true story from the Gyumsan Church in Korea. Okay, so get this. You've got this wealthy landowner, Joe Diksam. He starts a church right in his own house. And his servant, a guy named Aja Ik, attends with him. Now, for 3 years, they're in this community together, learning the same things. Then the day comes when they need to elect their very first leader, their first elder. And in a society where your social status is everything, the impossible happens. The community elects the servant, Aja Ik, over his own master. Can you imagine? And this is where it gets really incredible. The master, Jo Duk-sam, isn't offended. He's not insulted. He stands up and actually praises the decision. He says our church has done a wonderful thing. He basically says Jaik is more qualified. Think about that. At home, one man is the master, the other is the servant. But in this community, the master willingly puts himself under the leadership of the man who serves him. But wait, it gets even better. It didn't stop there. The master, Jo Duk-sam, then pays for his servant, Ik, to go get a formal education, to go to seminary. And when he's done, Ik is invited back to be the lead pastor of that same church. A master pays for his servant's education, so that servant can come back and be his pastor, his leader. It's a complete, stunning reversal of how the world normally works. So what's the big idea here? What's the philosophy that makes a story like that even possible? Well, there's a simple parable that explains it perfectly. Okay, it's called the parable of the long chopsticks, and the setup is simple. Imagine 2 rooms. One is heaven, one is hell. In both rooms, there's a huge feast, amazing food everywhere. But there's a catch. Everyone has chopsticks that are like 3 feet long, way too long to feed yourself. So, in hell, what happens? Everyone tries to feed themselves. It's just a chaotic mess of people trying to get the food to their own mouths. Failing, getting more and more frustrated, it turns into fighting, and even though they're surrounded by this amazing banquet, everyone starves. It's a perfect picture of where pure self-interest leads. Everybody loses. Now, what about heaven? Same exact situation, same long chopsticks, but they have one simple insight. Instead of trying to feed themselves, they reach across the table and feed the person sitting opposite them, and that person does the same for them. By focusing on each other's needs, everyone gets to eat. Same circumstances, totally different result, all because of one little shift in focus. And that parable, that's the blueprint. That's exactly the principle the early church was trying to live out. And it wasn't just some nice, fuzzy idea. It was a concrete, actionable plan. So how did they actually do it? Well, it breaks down into 3 core pillars. First, they had to learn a totally new way of thinking, a philosophy where selflessness was the goal, not ambition. Second, they had to live it. They shared everything, radically. selling property to make sure no one in the group was in need. And third, and this is crucial, they knew this was hard. They acknowledged that our default setting is self-interest, so they actively prayed for strength beyond their own willpower to actually live this selfless life. Okay, so that's the history. But what about us? What's the challenge for us today? Because this isn't just a cool story from the past. It has huge implications for building any kind of community, right here, right now. So could this be a blueprint for stronger communities today? Maybe it boils down to this. Step 1. Just look beyond yourself. Actually learn to see and understand what the people around you need. Step 2. Acknowledge that the me-first approach, the hell version of the long chopsticks, often ends in failure for everyone involved. And step 3, find ways to act. Find your long chopsticks and figure out how to use them to help someone else. And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? We live in a world that is pretty much built on self-interest and competition. But this ancient blueprint suggests something totally different. That maybe, just maybe, the strongest and most compelling communities are actually built on the radical idea of serving each other. What do you think?